I don't know where Hill House is. I'm mad at myself because I was gonna get the Midnight Mass vinyl because all of the other productions were joint productions, like this Paramount and Netflix.
That's why I get the DVD. Oh, okay.
And
Midnight Mass was just Netflix.
And he's
pissed. He pissed.
He's pissed because he's like begging them to do it.
Yeah.
And so the vinyl was the closest they got, and it's really pretty. It's like, hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm watching The Midnight Club, Season 1, Episode 1.
The final chapter.
It's a risky move for a first episode.
For the pilot?
Because I went back and forth trying to make sure that Because I know Will had already blew through it. And so I was kind of like,
He made himself a profile on the Netflix.
I got there. It took me seconds longer than it should have. Also, Netflix weirdly wasn't hawking it for me. And
no, us either.
I had to search for it.
Mike Flanagan on Twitter was like, hey guys, is it suggested to you or do you have to search for it? So.
Because I've been super liking everything he's done. I think he's, as evidenced by our maybe intro, I think he might be
cutting ties.
Well, I think the House of Usher is it.
Yeah. Come on, Netflix.
I don't.
Absolutely ridiculous.
There aren't enough minutes in the day. On that note, we are huge Mike Flanagan. He's probably my favorite artist of the last 10 years. Definitely
my favorite horror.
Gun to my head, I could not pick between Hill House or Midnight Mass.
Midnight Mass.
Really?
Yeah.
Hill House is so elegant.
It is. I think for me.
That's for me. It has this glamorous, this haunted mansion.
I love Hill. That's not to say I love Hill House. I even love Bly Manor. I think they're all great. But I think the final episode of Midnight Mass is really just unbelievable.
The last two episodes, I sobbed.
Yeah.
Click here for our coverage.
Yep.
So getting into this, I knew nothing about Midnight Club. And I only saw, if they released a trailer, it was just that one of the cast sort of ominously talking. Mm-hmm. So I really didn't know anything about it. Going into it, I'm not all that interested because I know it's based on a YA and that can be hit or miss for me.
Oh, I did not know it was YA.
That's why it takes place in the 90s, is I think they're keeping it.
Oh, okay.
So they can keep the plots and stuff and not have to explain cell phones. Mm-hmm. But, and I don't love sick kids. That's just a genre that I'm not all that.
I watched a show on ABC with Octavia Spencer before she became a humongous movie star, and it was called the Red Band Society. And so I love sick kids.
Really?
I don't know what it is about it. There's something, because I also really love The Fault in Our Stars, and I watched that stupid Cole Sprouse movie, the 5 Feet Apart thing. I don't know. There's something about it.
That's not enough sex for my liking, for my taste.
Sometimes they do have sex.
That's not the same.
No.
That's not what.
So I don't actually I'm not more sick kids, please, but I don't hate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, in a weird way, I was sort of pleased by that because my expectations have become so high for Mike Flanagan that it helped really ground it.
Sure.
To a point where I had even forgotten that I was watching Mike Flanagan in the first scene or two where she goes to the party.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the scare in the mirror.
Well, I had forgotten about the sick kids until she coughed up blood. And I was like, oh, right. The whole premise of this show is terminally ill children telling each other spooky stories.
Yeah, I can't, diving right in, I can't place it, what the story is.
Okay.
Because it's obviously there's a nefarious element at play.
Well, this house is so haunted.
But it doesn't give me dark, the house doesn't feel cancerous.
Okay.
Is that a good use or a bad choice?
No, I see what you mean.
Hill House felt like it was killing them.
Exactly, yes. It does not feel like that, but the specter of a woman bleeding from the eyes at the end of the hallway is not being helpful.
No, I know, but there's, and that's what I mean when I say I can't place it, is because there's a, and maybe it's part of the tone, maybe that's what this show is about, but the conversation they had with Dr. Stanton, where she was sort of we're reframing how we talk about these things.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel hostile the way that the other two houses we've seen do, even though there's hostile elements within it.
Well, there also seems to perhaps be a benevolent thing about the house because that Jenny Jane or whatever, she was like cured in or around the house potentially. So
and like
also,
Mark, it doesn't give me any. There were no red flags
with Zach Guilford.
Yeah. So I haven't watched Friday Night Lights. I probably will if you get us to 100,000 subscribers. If you get well, no, hell, if you get us to 10,000, I'll watch Friday Night Lights.
You bullied us both into doing
Pretty Little Liars.
Pretty Little Liars. Bully him into doing Friday Night Lights because it's one of my favorite shows of all time. It's so good.
Yeah, give us $1,000 a month and 10,000 subscribers, and I'll do it.
Do it. But also, Dr. Stanton is Heather Langenkamp from the Nightmare on Elm Street. The first one, yeah.
I was glad you told me that. She struck me because she's very pretty, but she's older. There was a familiarity.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen that, but there was something knowing about her, and I adored her line delivery when Ilanka was like, there was an old woman, and she was like, I mean, I might not be an ingenue anymore, but I wouldn't say old. And she like winked at Sturge.
Yeah.
At Tim. Who is cute.
He's really cute. I
didn't know. Sturge was appealing.
I thought he was cute because he had a beard on Midnight Mass.
Sure.
Yeah.
He was appealing, but
he's still cute.
Like to the point where I kept looking at him and I was like, what? And it's like it's very Eric Dane by way by way of Hopper, by way of
David Harbour.
I'm having a hard time. Sorry.
With the names.
But it's like the two of them is what it's giving me, and even just their deal. That's one of my favorite things about Mike Flanagan is how he sort of like draws you in, because you're sort of like, okay, so what's this dynamic? And you hear about this, like, again, bad with names right now, but her mother is presumably dead,
Maggie,
and then we later find out that he's a foster dad, and so immediately you're just sort of like, wow, what is? But she also is excelling. But I love that she was like second salutatorian. You know, I don't know. There was enough, and like she snuck out to go to the college party, but didn't drink. There was layers that kept me on my toes.
Yeah, there were like a lot of dichotomies too, because, and this is a very generalized like take on stuff, but it's like if you're, and I'm not trying to be insensitive to like the foster care system or anything, but they're like they seem to have a really loving like relationship, and she seemed to have really loved her presumably foster mom as well. But it was
birth mother. I don't know.
I don't know who the mom was, regardless. Because I think she'd be calling him stepdad if it was her real mom. Regardless, there was just like, you're right, like where she was like excelling in school, but also she had like a lot of ear piercings, which could have been from like a rebellious
when she was dyeing her hair.
And she was dyeing her hair, and she was going to the college party, and so there was like a lot of like juxtapositions in that I thought was really interesting.
And I also can't place if she's magic or like what combination, because she was having visions. I mean, from the first cough, she was seeing, and she was seeing what's his name, Kevin, on the bench. And I did want a big shout out to him. It's Igby and Anara, were the two kids from Midnight Mass. And because her name's Sydney in this, Simone. It doesn't say on the IMDb.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I like her. I have it's tricky. It's tricky. It depends on how you navigate it. But I have a soft spot for like the Christian girl, like the good Christian girl.
Yeah.
And I think her wig, like that whole thing was cute.
Yeah.
I don't have a huge grip on the kids.
Not all of them.
Anya's my favorite.
I thought she might be.
I just think she's so weird and funny.
She's super weird and like funny and dark and
And those are all cards that are easy to be overplayed, and she's walking the line.
So I also think Ilanka keeps seeing a ballerina, and
does she?
Yes, and Anya is missing a leg. I think she was the ballerina.
Okay.
I think she used to be a ballerina.
I missed that
because that would be a huge reason why she's so dark and like acerbic. If she like lost the thing she loves to do and her leg and she's dying, you know.
I also love Sherry.
Yeah.
Queen status right out of the gate. I love that she does nothing but lie.
She's just like, and she's apparently her nanny drove a Bentley. Like, whoa.
There were a lot of choices being made in ways that I was like, I wasn't quite expecting that. I also absolutely adored is a weird word, but I adored the like takedown or the discussion of jump scares.
Oh my God, so funny.
I've noticed that it's like a thing. It's because modern audiences are more sophisticated than ever. A lot of terms of filmmaking have gone more mainstream.
Yeah.
And so like Gen Z knows the word trope. You know, it's like they know a lot of things that were more industry niche, like stuff later. And I notice a lot of the younger kids know the term jump scares, and they were reared in a generation of the Conjuring movies. So they equate that to horror.
Okay.
And that's why sometimes if you watch like the people react to like Midsummer and it's not even scary. And by that they mean nothing screamed at me.
But it's such an existential dread. That's scarier to me.
Well, and I knew that being the YA book, I knew that this was aiming for a slightly younger audience than some of his more cerebral works.
Yeah.
And so there was a part of me that was like, oh, is this just gonna be schlockier? Is it gonna be jump scares? And we got a handful, and I made my peace with that.
Yeah.
But then to get the commentary, to get the meta.
Yeah. Because what was Natsuki was telling her story with almost like a girl that looks like she's from The Grudge or something. And it's like it was very funny.
I was hysterical. That's so funny to me because they're touting that it has the Guinness record for number of jump scares. And that's so funny that for my money, its success was in pure comedy.
Such comedy.
Pure comedy.
Well, and because then the other guy was like, this is so cheap.
He was like, no, that's not scary. You're startling.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like a good, well-placed, well-timed jump scare. I think Mike Flanagan's a master. I think probably the best jump scare I've ever seen in my life is in Hill House.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like junk food. It's not sustainable. It's like, it's got to be peppered and used for an appropriate, and also and we're not going to go into Hill House, but its placement in Hill House is a tension breaker.
Exactly.
So it's serving a story purpose.
Because in that moment, you're ramping up the emotional tension so much that it's like, you need to have that like pump of adrenaline and then the like come down after.
Well, and you also like, even just
also Shirley needs to see.
As an audience member, we need that moment of like, because let's not forget, we're doing this for fun.
Yeah.
So we need that moment of catharsis, preferably communally.
Absolutely.
You know, and it gives you a moment to pause and like regroup and stuff. I just really, I'm really impressed by his mastery. Spencer.
Yeah. I like him. He's funny.
I liked Amesh.
He was good too.
There was a not quirky, but like a spunky, I guess, quality to almost all of them at first that I was a little bit like, this could wear out its welcome. And it managed not to.
But also it's sort of like I think I appreciate that because it's sort of, you get a shorthand for the characters very quickly and then they're able to broaden them, like all of it really immediately, which I like. Because it happens in a lot of stuff like this, especially like, I mean, this is like a whack example because it's such an excellent movie, but like Girl Interrupted is kind of like that when you first meet when like Winona Ryder meets all of them, it's kind of
you're
like
checking
that
boxes.
As well. Exactly. You're like, she's the one with this and she's the one with this and like, wah.
We have presumably what could be romance between Ilanka and Kevin. They had like a meet cute.
Yeah.
And he knew her as well. So there's something else going on.
Because she recognized him sitting there on the bench and he was like, did you go to school with me or whatever? And she was like, no, I'm definitely from Sacramento, and they're in like the outside Seattle area.
Yeah. There was a girl, Rachel, who presumably, she died before Ilanka came in, who was maybe doing witchcraft, which
there's a pentagram underneath Ilanka's bed.
It was conspicuous. Yeah. It was, my guess is protective. There's a shadow that apparently chases people.
Yeah.
Kevin's heard that story multiple times.
Not just from Rachel.
Yeah.
Also, it seems like the longest the longest any of them have been there is 6 months.
Well, and Anya just re-upped.
Yeah. So, yeah.
To hit it again, Ilanka found a story or heard of a story where a woman went there and was cured.
Yeah.
And so she's maybe hoping for that. Someone's going over that cliff into the water.
Oh, Hundo P. Yeah.
And then the Midnight Club, they meet late at night and tell stories. It seems like they're meant to be scary, and then when Sydney's talking, Sandra. When Sandra's talking, it's angel porn.
Yeah. Also, fucking Jenny Jane or whatever her fucking name was is a smoke show IRL.
Apparently, Samantha Sloyan's character's name is Shasta.
Oh,
that's ambitious for what I'm imagining from her. But yeah, one of the points of the Midnight Club is they are trying to make some kind of like blood pact or like soul pact that when one of them dies, the first one to die will come back and try to communicate evidence or proof of an afterlife.
Like to tell them what to expect, essentially, which I think is like nice.
I think it's interesting. Like I said, that there's horror, but there's multiple things at play here, and I'm very curious to see what direction we're actually heading in. So, I think that's good for me for the first episode.
I mean, I liked it so far. I'm excited. Oh, and also Jenny Jane. I don't think that was her name. It was something Jane. She once she got better, she could like tell when everyone else was going to die.
Julia Jane.
Yes,
she could tell one.
Yeah. So like date and time. Or not time, but like date. So that was really interesting. She also disappeared for like a week. So it's like all very mysterious and interesting. The house is also like it was a cult house at one point. It's been like a halfway house. It's been like a lot of things that it's haunted for sure. But it's also beautiful.
So, okay.
Love it.
Well, we'll be back.
Bye.
Like and subscribe.